Hello, everyone, and welcome to Talk Tuesday. I'm Mia Sines, and this is Lori Montry. We are the co-founders of the Greatest You Academy. We created this academy because we both were doing the same work, very, very powerful on very high levels. We understood that each other understood exactly the methods to move forward with. So in that space, we came together and we created the greatest you. So we believe that you are the greatest you. And sometimes support is needed in order to just unearth things that allows us to be who we are. Did you want to say anything before I hop into the beginning?
I'm so excited for this
Okay,
topic
good.
today, but yeah,
Yeah.
everybody does have access. There's a version of you and you know it and you feel it. And I know you're here because you know that, right? We don't attract people who don't realize like, oh, there's something and I'm really excited to explore it. So I think we need to get right into what the universe is saying about these concepts and about these beautiful, let's see, right now we're all ladies, but everybody watching the replay as well. Yeah, let's talk about what the universe wants you to know.
So this is for both men and women because we
Yes.
equals in all level, right? And so it's really beautiful. So I'm what I want to share with you is Lori's belief too. And it's funny because when I was saying that we both came together to create the Greatest You Academy, our work was very similar, which is
Yeah.
cool because it sort of blanketed or married each other. And that's
Yeah.
the beauty. So even though this was my personal experience, Lori's had her own, which she'll go into later on. But I was standing on the stage in New York several years back, waiting for my talk to begin. It's in the wings, it was all black. And I had given Marianne Williamson was our keynote speaker, and I'd given Marianne Williamson part of my time because she was late and she was her keynote speaker. Nobody else would give up their time. And so I gave her 30 minutes of my hour slot. So I'm standing there in the darkness saying, okay, I call God Father. Okay, Father, tell me what I need to tell everybody. And I heard several things. And so instantly my talk just flowed through me. And one of the things that I have always believed in, and so is Lori, but it's something that came out that moved everybody. And we're going to go into it a little bit slower than you've heard me talk about it before, more of an explanation, breaking it down. You are not alone. You are deeply loved and you're a miracle. So, what does that mean to you? We can talk all we want, but until you understand it, where it means to you, it doesn't make any sense. So, think about this. Do you remember when you were young or younger or even yesterday and you felt so deeply alone? No one could, not that they wouldn't, but they couldn't understand you because they haven't been through your life experience. They did not have either trauma or deprivation of some kind, or joyousness and then deprivation, whatever the trauma was, big or little, it doesn't matter. We feel we're so alone. And guess what? What we both have discovered in this work is no one is alone. One, because we are divine beings, but two, because we all have the same experience. We all go through life and struggle at times until we don't. So that's the part that you've got to understand. You are not alone. And why are you deeply loved?
And Mia, can I just add to that before we move on?
Sure.
Because there is I think I struggled a little bit really understanding that. And so I had a visual that made sense to me, a couple actually. It's like, our whole existence, the energy from which we're all created is like the sun, right? And then we're all rays of the sun coming off of it. And it really, I think, helps me at least to really get that sense and to understand it and to feel the connection. Like with each one of you, I know that we are all the same, right?
Yeah.
The separateness that we feel and that our world kind of perpetuates is not real, right? We're all part of the sun. I also heard it as we're all spokes in the wheel. Mm-hmm. Right. And so I love those images. And when
we're all flames in the
think about
fire.
this, yeah. And when I think about this concept of not being alone, I remember our deep connection, not with just the people that I love, but the people that, I've never even met. I have no idea are out there in the world. We're still all one. So to the extent that, anyone else likes those images and connects them to this beautiful understanding that we really are all one, then I offer that as just a way to think about it.
And also it begins our healing process to understand that we're not alone. Mm-hmm. That others can possibly understand that there doesn't have to be shame or sorrow or pain that has to follow you continuously for the rest of your life.
Yeah. And I think it's so interesting to me how, because in one of the subsets, I guess we could say, of the Greatest You Academy is our emotional eating wing. And it's incredible in those meetings where people come and, someone will be brave enough to say, oh my gosh, this is what I do with food. This is my experience. And I'm so frustrated that I did this, but last night I woke up and blah, blah, blah. And then everybody else in the room is like, what? You do that too? I thought I was the only one, and it's okay to say it, and it's okay to, and everything changes. So when you said it's part of our healing, it's so true. When we see ourselves as, that we have a common struggle, believe me, there is nothing that you do or feel that, there aren't so many others, either in the exact form or in a similar form, going through, experiencing the same thing. You are not the only one.
Yeah. For me, the floodgates opened when that realization clicked. I was just like, I'm not alone. It makes me teary-eyed. I'm not alone in this.
So not alone.
Healing can come super fast with grace and ease. And so the next one is, you are deeply loved. So what does that mean, that you are deeply loved? If you can connect to, and I'll say it because probably not in this group, but if you're talking to other people, you'll want to have a reference. So your higher self, if you don't believe in God, then you've got to have some internal higher self or life force. So if you can connect to God, the universe, creator, source, spirit, life force, prana, whatever you feel or call it, if you can connect to that, you will have a peace and a love flowing through you. We teach also with spiritual notes in our work because we believe that the greatest power is for us as humans to connect to our higher self and get out of the crap and the turmoil that we once were in. So what would that example be besides what we just said? You were deeply loved, right? I remember as a little girl, after I would get a beating, and it started at age 4, and I'd be locked in closets, that I would talk to God and I would say, I know you're my true father, mother. Now, how did a little tiny girl know that? I can't remember, but probably my grandma shared it with me. And so that was my beautiful connection. And so the aspect are, you are deeply loved, absolutely comes from us individually with our own sense of connection to our creator. And that's where the whole aspect of everything gets to grow and bloom. Now, the next one,
Mia, if I can say there, that connection. And I think that some people struggle, and we're not making any kind of judgment around religion, not religion, whatever. We don't have any,
we're just serving everybody
judgment, right? And not only that, we find there is a universal truth in all of it. So it's all like, comes from a higher place, and then it trickles down into these various forms in which we can learn about and express our connection with divinity. So this is certainly never to say, right or wrong, but I do know that we've worked with a lot of people who were kind of told, here's what divine looks like, here's what your connection with the divine should look like, And then if, when we get to a point where we realize, well, maybe that's someone else's definition, or for whatever reason, it's not exactly as we see it and we don't resonate with it fully. And then it can become very challenging to figure out, what is that relationship? What is my connection? Right. And so without needing to attach a lot of rules or structure to it, it can just be simply whatever, divinity is and the way that it lives in me. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And you had connection to that in that moment that you're feeling so much intensity around. You're feeling intensity because I'm guessing because, number one, that was a powerful message that you are not alone, you are deeply loved, and you are a miracle. Those things were not only intense because of the beauty and the grace in that message, but you were being whispered to in that moment. You had that connection with the divine in that moment. And that is so incredible, right? That is that sense of peace and well-being because you were connected, you heard directly. And we have that available to us every minute of the day. Like it's just a matter of tuning into it. It's always, those messages and that connection is always there. It's always being broadcast, right? It's just a matter of, are we tuned to the right station to be receiving it? And so I love that, you're sharing with us not only the message itself, but your experience was one in which you were open to that connection and it was flowing through. And that was why it was so beautiful, in addition to the words that were given to you. And just knowing that we have that available every minute, right, is incredible.
We do. And after we go through the next one, I do want to share a little piece of what the brilliance that transpired for everybody in that room when they heard.
It had to, because that came from the divine through you. And there it was. Yeah.
It was, and there's always a blessing when we recognize something and support people in love, through love. There's always a blessing. So we just need to see, what is that blessing, and wait for it to appear and then connect to it. And we'll talk a little bit about blessings in a little bit. So you are a miracle. Most people get uncomfortable with that. What? Huh? I know I sure did. In 2021, not 2021, way before then, in the 9/11 in 2001, I had, due to my CPTSD, my early childhood trauma, which is complex, I had a breakdown from 9/11. I could not believe that our country was being invaded whatever everybody's thoughts are on it, that's not important. But I was devastated for the first time in my life as a militaristic sort of person. We had military people in our family, that I broke. I couldn't believe it. I can tell you, since the Mexican-American War, we have not been invaded on our lands. And so it threw me to the point where, when every day I was in a facility for 35 days, I was fortunate enough to go to a place that was so blessed and loving, and every day in group, and I'm not ashamed to say this because this is the beginning, huge transformation of who Mia is today. In that group, every day, the head psychiatrist of the facility would come in and she'd say to me, Mia, do you know that you're a miracle? I would be like, well, everybody's a miracle. And she would just every day so sweetly come in, do you know you're a miracle, Mia? She wouldn't say this to anyone else. And so finally I thought, okay, it's time to go on the journey of what a miracle actually is. And these tears that you see are not of anything other than, wow, what great love this experience is and was. Yes, absolutely. So we have been through so much. Some of us have been through abuse. Some of us have been through things like deprivation taken away, whether it's love or food or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. We are miracles. We've survived that. We are powerful. We are gifted. And when we recognize how powerful and gifted we are as beings, no one, I'm going to say no one, can ever take that glory away from you. No one. Did you want to say anything about a miracle before I stage?
Wow. Yeah. And I want to encourage you. We're listening to Mia's experience, but it is yours too. So please hear it from the standpoint of not, oh, that's an interesting concept, but and say it to yourself right now, you know, Beth, you are a miracle. And Alex, you are a miracle. Larry, you are a miracle. Nicole is a miracle, as we well know, right? Janet,
Mm-hmm.
you're a miracle. That's truth. So don't hear this story or anything else that we say and apply it to us or apply it to someone that we're referring to. Apply it to yourself
Yes.
and really take it into your own heart and your own experience.
So when we were talking about the beginning, when I was standing on the stage where it was black and the curtains waiting to come out on stage, and I was listening to all these other speakers talk about, one right before me was talking about her big mansion and she was a business coach, and her wealth and her this and her that. And I'm thinking, how does that serve humanity? And I said, okay, God, tell me what to say. So when the words came out, you were not alone. You were deeply loved and you're a miracle. Do you know what happened in that audience? Everyone started crying because it connected them and it broke that thought that they were nothing.
Yeah.
They realized and came up to me afterwards. They said, wow, nobody's ever told me that. And I'm like, well, isn't that beautiful? And when we talk about miracles happening from miracles or gifts happening from being in your right alignment, what happened after that was not only did tons of women come up to me to meet me or to talk to me, but Marianne Williamson cited me 4 times in her talks, just like Mia said, just like Mia said. You know, she'd say, and just like Mia said, and everybody's flipping their heads around to me. So I look at that as a beautiful gift that I received for being a good listener, for doing what I was there to do. And so as we go through our life, as we grow our self-love and our emotional intelligence, these are the states, the things that take us to our awakening space. This is what the greatest you, is all about, which is us, which is everyone, is getting to that space of being and feeling aligned with who they naturally are, in that beauty of wherever realm or space you take it. It's about you understanding who you are to the depths of your core. And so that's a really, really, everything can be a miracle. Everything can be a gift. How many people actually look for their daily gifts or declare it once they see something magical?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. It is exactly what the Academy is all about, right? And so many times, and I'm certainly guilty of this, but I think, you know, this is what I want for my life. Okay, how do I go about doing that? How do I create this, you know, relationship, this success, this peace? Okay, I got to do this, I got to do this. And you know, we get stuck in that, almost like that hamster wheel. Sometimes we can just get stuck there trying and doing and try, you know, pushing and the struggle, versus what we're teaching and what you're talking about today is like when you're in alignment with yourself and you know that you are that miracle, then your only job is discovering who you are and what you want and how to express yourself, as opposed to, oh gosh, how do I create this, right? How do I create wealth? How do I become financially secure? How do I, you know, get into this
somebody
line of
love
business,
me.
make somebody love me? That's not where our power is, right? Our power is over here in recognizing, if I'm such a miracle, then I can trust, oh, I'm feeling a little bit of guidance here about this, or that doesn't feel good, instead of saying, oh, it may not feel good, but working 20 hours is the only way to, you know, 20 hours a day is the only way to get to success. Instead of listening, the authentic self says, you need to step back and get, you know, connect with your artistic side again, or whatever it is. Well, I can't trust that, right? I have to push and pull and struggle. But when we listen, when we know we're miracles and that we're loved and we're so powerful, and we listen to that and get in touch with our authentic self, when we know it and own it, that's when all of the things that we think we want that are authentic to us happen naturally. And we don't even have to do anything to make it happen. That's the incredible thing. Our focus is in the wrong place so often. Our focus is on the push and the struggle and the what definition of, how I've been taught to go about creating things in my life, when really you are this incredible creator. And when you're honoring that and in touch with that and loving yourself and listening to this divine guidance, it's done. Mia didn't need, she needed to say those 3 sentences to achieve what she wanted to achieve by going to this event, which is connect people to their greatness. She was doing it way back then, and we're doing it now in this way. And that was all. And that's the beauty. When you're connected to that, when you're connected to your authentic self and you're really tuned into that and it's flowing through you, bam, everything you want is done in that moment. And that's the experience. I love that we're, talking about that experience as a way of understanding this topic, that it's already done. All you need to do is own it from your place of authenticity, right?
And sometimes people need guidance in that space because it's been an unknown for a long time. There's nothing wrong with getting support. There's nothing wrong at all with that. And so also we said that we wanted to talk a little bit about looking for that miracle. So what would that look like to you in your everyday life? I know what it looks like for me because I look for it and have been looking for it. Since 2016, I started recognizing, well, that's a miracle from doing this, or that's a miracle from that. And so I just shared really quick yesterday. What a miracle day. I wish you guys were all there to play with me. My husband and I went snorkeling. We're in Miami. I also live in an island in Washington. But I'm here right now for a couple more weeks and then home for the summer there because it's gorgeous. We were snorkeling, and see, everything's a creation, you guys. It's not, oh, wow, listen to her. It's a creation that I created how I wanted to live my life. Doesn't mean everything's always easy, means that it's beautiful. So
yeah.
In the ocean, and all of a sudden I see something down below, and I'm like, is that a hair, a barrette or something? So I dive down, and it's a bracelet, and I'm like, it's my mermaid bracelet. I'm going to use this energy to find something else miraculous. Well, in that moment, I turn around facing the shore, and in Miami, there's these clumps of the sargassum seaweed that just float along. They break off and they float along. And one of them felt very energetic to me. So I went over and I started looking, and I said, honey, I think there's some fish in here. And he's like, what? And so all of a sudden we saw 1, then 2, then 3. And by the time they all moved away, my husband's a professional diver for 35 years, and he's never seen what I'm sharing with you. And there were 7 of these squid, little tiny ones that had clear heads and that had like sargassum legs. And he's like, never seen that before. And after we watched them swim away in this little squad, it's so cute, I felt more energy, and I turned around again, and this baby crab, or a big crab, they only get like the size of a 50-cent piece. So how could I see that looking like seaweed in seaweed? It's because I was tuned in. His little claws were holding the back, and he was reaching his arms up, and he has these 2 little white eyes. And I was like, I wanted to pick him up and hug him. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, he's the size of a quarter. You can't do that. You're not his mama. But that's glorious. My husband had never seen the sargassum crab, which was so incredible. So then we went walking on the beach, and one of our neighbors was there with all their snorkeling stuff. So they're like, yeah, use it. So we go snorkeling. And I'm watching all these glorious fish for the first time in a long time, like a couple years. And so when we get home, I'm like, this was such a beautiful day. We drive into our driveway. We live in a house that's been converted into a couple of different houses. And so there's 3 peacocks there. 3 peacocks. Just last week, I sent my sister-in-law, who had a peacock in her tree, that she had gotten a peacock and it lives in her tree. I sent her a thank you gift for something, and it was a peacock. And I was like, I really would love some peacocks, but I just don't want the hassles. Guess what were there? 3 female peacocks. And so apparently somehow they either landed where we live, or somebody else brought them to the house. But these peacocks greeted me also that night. They found my kitchen window, and they were outside. The roof line is near my kitchen window. That's why I explained that it was a house converted. And the peacocks are there watching me cook dinner and spending the evening with me. I'm just like, I am so blessed. So see your miracles where they are. Find great things where they are. If you're housebound, you can still find pleasure, and you can still find greatness in things. Somebody calling you, somebody reaching out to you, whatever it is, it's there. If you look for it, it comes faster.
Absolutely does. You know, in our brains, the way that they are wired, and the brilliance of how they've been created is, we see, right? It's called confirmation bias. We see in the world whatever confirms what we hold to be true. So if Mia goes out into the world open to that divinity, and knowing miracles are everywhere and they're coming to me today, that's what her awareness allows to see. So it's not even, these are happening for each one of you all the time. So when we have the expectation and we're tuned in, you're going to see them. This reminds me of a famous quote from Einstein that I use all the time, and it's so perfect for our discussion. And it says, there are only 2 ways to live your life. One is though nothing is a miracle. The other is as though everything is a miracle, right? And we get to choose which one we want. And I just, as a piece of integration work, I would love for everybody to, number one, go into the rest of today or into the rest of the week, asking, just being open. And even if you don't believe in it fully, just acknowledging and saying, I wonder what would happen if I had held the expectation or opened my awareness to the miracles that life has to show me today, this week, and just really, being open in that space and seeing what happens. And then, of course, we always encourage you to post in the Facebook group, because we are building a community of people who are, living by these principles and being open and expressing themselves as their greatest self. So write in the Facebook group, tell us what miracles came, who came to visit you, right? Like the peahens. And the other thing is, make a list.
Thank you for knowing. I only learned yesterday that they were peahens, and that they're called fowl, and that their boys are peacocks. I only learned that yesterday. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Well, I feel kind of like, hey, peahens, they do an important job, and to only, we refer to all of them as peacocks. It just seems like, hey, peahens need their recognition too.
Thank
right?
you.
And so just asking yourself, what would some miracles look like in your life? And that's not, why not explore some of that? Like Mia was sharing last week. I'd like to have a motorhome for is that right?
An RV motorhome.
RV. Yeah, that was the word. I couldn't remember the word, so for my son, while he's building his house and things like that, I mean, go ahead and say, this is the kind of miracle. And the other thing I want to mention is that Mia said, sometimes we need guidance to do something as simple as accept our greatness. Mm-hmm. And the reason why is, from the time we were born, we've been getting this messaging from the world. And the messaging is, that you aren't enough. You aren't perfect the way you are, that you need to have this list of credentials in order to truly be, successful or whatever it is. And so there's all this programming that we're constantly being fed. And so owning your greatness is about releasing that and taking away the resistance. It's not that we are teaching you how to be great. Your greatness is well established. It's just that we can help you see those blocks, whether it's past trauma, whether it is your thought patterns that have developed as a result of your early programming, whether it is, your emotions and not having necessarily the emotional resiliency to see your emotions as your brilliant guidance system, as opposed to, something that brings you turmoil and makes you feel like you're being tossed about by life, right? Your health, your physical health, your relationships, all of these things are parts of the Greatest You Academy. And these are the things that are the blocks that sometimes keep people from accessing, from knowing their greatness, and then also from living it. Because you may say to yourself, I've gotten in touch. I understand my greatness, but I find myself not able to see the miracles, create the miracles. And so very often it's just a matter of getting the right guidance and having the curriculum, right? The exact method. Here's how you find those thoughts. Here's how you identify and bring awareness to your nervous system, your past traumas. Here's how you work with your emotions. And so it seems maybe a little bit strange that something as profound and spiritual as this could have a step-by-step manual, right? But it does, because it's the same work for everyone in removing these blocks.
That's right. And you mentioned about the physical health and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
What I want you to understand that your greatest gift to yourself is to heal your emotional stuff, your emotional baggage, your emotional issues, your emotional health. Because our emotional health also falls not just within the body, but it's part of our mental health.
Yeah.
We clear away our emotional health. Remember, I talked about the collapse I had in 2001 and 9/11. In the book Mirror, Mirror, it talks a little bit more about how that incapacitated me until 2008, when I came out of a wheelchair from being literally broken in the frontal lobe of my brain, being burnt out from shock because my emotional system was a mess. And so as I cleared my emotional system and nurtured and loved it, what happened was my spiritual sense, even though I was highly spiritual, was able to absorb more. Like Lori and I talk about, she brought into the academy the nervous system. She has so many certificates and all of that, because once you can calm yourself, you can feel and transcend those places that you once were not able to. So type of behavior that you can see within yourself that doesn't feel smooth, connected to an emotional issue. And when we heal our emotional issues, we can heal our bodies faster. So there is an exact system that we share with people, and it's just up to them to do the work, which they do the work. And that's the incredible part. One thing that's been coming to me is some people put off, I was one of them, even though my husband made close to $200,000 a year for a long time when we were married, or throughout our marriage.
It was a long time ago, which
Right.
would be, today, that's,
Right. Which at that time, when I broke out from my mental state or my mental prison, I kept saying, we don't have enough so that we can get support and help. And actually we did. And then when I left him and I had no money because he hid our money, I created it. And so what I want to share with you is, if there is a will, there is a way. We have so many people that come into the academy that say, I've wanted to work with either one of us for years, and now I get to. So don't allow that. Have the conversation with yourself and have it with us if you want to. Because everything is there for your own growth. You just have to feel it, literally want it, and things come forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, I just want to add to that and say the academy is open right now for enrollment. We open it and then put it on pause at various times to make sure that we have the right group of people, meaning not too many, so that everybody can get supported in things. So there is open enrollment right now. And so I encourage everybody, as you're doing kind of this and thinking about this integration work, ask yourself what's stopping you if you are not living the exact life that you want to be living. And as Mia said, that doesn't mean that we never come across any problems or anything, but where everything is beautiful, where you are creating and you know that you have the power to be the creator of your life. If you're not experiencing the life that you want, ask yourself if you're ready to get to the bottom of why not. Because you deserve everything that is on your heart is meant for you. That's what literally what is created for you and wants to come into your reality. So if there is anything that you feel like you're wanting and know is meant for you and you don't know how to get it, the Academy is the place for you to figure that out, for you to overcome these blocks so that you can accept and live from that place of knowing that you are not alone, you are a miracle, and you are deeply loved. And when that is your sole focus in life, all of the other things will automatically find you. We talked last week about how everything that you want is in an Amazon package on your front porch right now. We're going to teach you how to navigate yourself to the front door, open that door, get your box cutter and start opening those boxes. That is exactly what the curriculum in The Greatest You is meant for, along with the curriculum, but also the coaching that comes along with it and a lot of other pieces. So if you're somebody and you're sitting here and you're like, oh, I think I'm ready to claim, what's mine, reach out to us so that we can talk to you and make sure that you feel that you understand what it is that could be possible as you get support, get guidance, get the right path, the right steps to create what's yours. There's why. What are you waiting for, right? We want you to be living, starting today, to start to live that life that is meant for you, that the universe wants you to have, has created for you. We don't need to waste any more time.
So let's go over really quickly the integrative work in case people forgot what that was.
Yeah.
It's going over one of them that I'd like you to go over is what would it be like? Well, so go over all three. What would it be like to not feel alone in any manner? What would it be like for you to know down to your bones and beyond that you are deeply loved? And get beyond the scarcity of that you're a miracle into the sunlight that Lori shared with us early on about that connectedness. And what would it be like if you felt like you were a miracle and you were full of sun every day, that you could pull that forward in your darkest moments and can change your own reality?
Yeah.
So look at that space for yourself.
Yes. And then the other two things is actually make a commitment to say, okay, I don't know exactly how this works, or I'm not sure I believe it fully, but I have a mission today to see all the places, all the miracles that could be shown to me, and play with that and have fun with it a little bit. Just like me, it doesn't have to be, where $1 million falls out of the sky and hits you in the head. It can be these incredible little creatures. It can be the mermaid bracelet. It can be all of these things, right? And then the other thing is what would some of the things, what's on your heart that you feel like this is the life for me? Is it some kind of, I know that I would be able to express myself creatively. I know I would feel secure in a deep, loving relationship. I would have financial security. I'd be out of debt. I'd be helping other people. I'd be healthy. I'd feel good in my body, right? I wouldn't always be concerned that people were judging me, or, whatever it is. What are some of the miracles that you really want to create for yourself? And then I would add to that, ask yourself, why am I not in the Academy? Why not? And see what comes out.
So if you have questions, you can book it at www.thegreatestyoucalendar.com and book a slot with us to chat and have a look at the Academy at www.thegreatestyouacademy.com. We've created this for you, for everyone who wants to partake and to play. And when you bring up that little thing about my mermaid bracelet,
Yeah.
I realized that I used that bracelet, which was just me, opening up to other possibilities yesterday. What
Yeah.
possibilities?
Yeah.
I was like a child in a children's book going,
We can be like
can
that.
I
Yeah.
create? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's for everybody. It's not just for me. So play with that concept because
Mm-hmm.
you're just as worthy as Lori and I, as anyone else, as God.
Yeah.
I bet nobody's ever told you you're as worthy as God. And it's the truth. All
And
right, we're going to close this out. Thank you for joining us, and big love today.